I'm going to cover the abnormalities that we come across in our day-to-day practice, and mainly manifesting symptoms which are metamorphosia and the loss of central vision. No financial disclosures. So just to have a recap about the stages of PVD. Uh, with age, there is gel liquefaction and there is weakening of the ear adhesions, and that is what causes a peripheral detachment. At the fovea is usually attached, and around the fovea there is a detachment, which gradually progresses and causes detachment of the peripheral retina as well, and finally comes off from the optic disc finally. So that is the non-pathological complete PVD that occurs in a healthy person. Then what is abnormal vitreomacular adhesion or anomalous PVD? So when gel liquefaction occurs without sufficient dehiscence, including a clean separation or a clean cleaving, consequences will be there, and that will vary depending on where the gel is most liquefied and where the posterior is most firmly adherent. For example, it can cause a retinal tear in the periphery or a retinal detachment, or it can cause a vitreomacular interface abnormality, or what we can call as a VIP, vitreomacular interface problems at the posterior pole. If untreated, it impacts vision and quality of life. So these are all the symptoms that we usually come across in these patients: progressive vision loss, metamorphopsia, photopsia, micropsia, central vision loss, and the patient's quality of life is definitely hampered. So the International Vitreomacular Traction Study Group, IVTS group, classified vitreomacular abnormalities into vitreomacular adhesion, vitreomacular traction, and macular hole, and each of which was further classified into focal and broad depending on the size of adhesion, and also into isolated or concurrent on the presence or absence of concurrent disease. Just some examples from the literature. This is a focal vitreomacular adhesion. This is a broad vitreomacular adhesion. This is a focal vitreomacular adhesion with concomitant CA and D. This is the vitreomacular traction, which is focal, causing some distortion of the fovea. Vitreomacular traction, which is focal, causing pseudocysts here. And this is the broad vitreomacular traction causing distortion of the macula. And then full thickness macular hole is something which is an undoubted defect, which was very well shown by Dr. Manjula, featuring interruption of all neural retinal layers from the iLM to the RPE. Although the definition requires detection of only one, this can be missed easily, and very small holes especially can be missed in the cell, and therefore we need to see multiple set of scans in order to diagnose on the macular hole. So the classification is small FT less than 250 microns. If it is less than 250 microns, it is small. If it is between 250 and 400 microns, it is medium. And if it is large, if it is more than 400 microns, it is large. And this is the common clinical scenario that we come across in our practice.
Guru, sorry to interrupt you. Your voice is very patchy. You may have to lean forward towards the computer.
Thanks.
Audible better.
So a small macular hole is, this is an example. A patient was actually an ophthalmologist's father who came with this picture. This is 239 microns, and this usually these sometimes can close spontaneously. 100% successful surgery is usually recorded in these patients done properly. And at the time when pharmacological vitreolysis was in practice, that is octreotoctin plasma, for example, these type of holes were very responsive, and this is the post-operative picture of this patient. Medium-sized holes are between 250 and 400 microns, and there is a 90% success with surgery with vitrectomy and ILM peeling. And this is our own example of how we had a good success of the hole getting closed. A large macular hole is something that is more than 400 microns, and more than half of the patients that we come across belongs to this category of large holes. There is a 90 to 95% success even with the large holes, and there is no success with octreotoctin. Again, octreotoctin is somehow creeping into my presentation because at the time when the IVTS study group classified macular holes, octreotoctin was in usage. Nowadays, it is not. This is an extra large hole, if I may call it that way, 2,482 micron hole, width of the hole, which is quite much. And this was successfully treated with inverse peeling and tucking of the inverse of the ILM flaps into the hole. What about reopened macular holes? Sometimes even small hole can reopen because of several reasons. So how we tackle that is with increasing the ILM peel area by surgery. Inverse peeling and multi-layering is another technique that we perform. And we can use grafts using lens capsule, amniotic membrane, and retinal periphery from retina from the periphery, neurosensory grafts. So there are two types of full thickness macular hole: primary versus secondary. The primary hole is the one which is usually called as idiopathic, resulting from vitreous traction on the fovea from anomalous PVD. Secondary hole is caused by other pathological features with no pre-existing or concurrent BMT. I'll show you some examples. And the short list of causes of secondary hole are blunt trauma, lightning strike, hand myopia, macular species, Mactel type 2, neovascular ARMD, macroaneurysm, and so on. This is an example of a traumatic macular hole that we operated and successfully closed, although the visual recovery was not great. A concomitant VMT in neovascular AMD, you can see that there is a VMT and there is a neovascular membrane here. And concomitant VMT in case of PDR. On the IR image, you can see the fibrosis, the stay on the posterior bone, hemorrhage, retinal hemorrhage, and there is a macular hole had to be treated by ILM peeling. Impending macular hole is something that we have to understand, also called stage 0 macular hole in the past. Special circumstances where FTMH develops in one eye and OCT VMA or VMT in the fellow eye. So this is an example. The same patient which I showed as a small hole. This is the same patient who had a stage 0 or an impending macular hole in the other eye. Studies show that these fellow eyes are at increased risk for development of this macular hole. And usually progresses, but may also spontaneously resolve in many cases. So this is the example of the patient, the left eye of the patient having undergone successful surgery, and the right eye was being monitored. This is the stage 0 hole of the same patient. Gradually progressed, developed small cysts, and ultimately a full thickness macular hole like this. 2 years later, this also needed surgery, and he did very well. ERMs usually cause visual symptoms. Usually that is due to vitroschisis that is present in many senile eyes, and the cortical layer of the vitreous that is adherent to the inner layer of the retina undergoes proliferation, and because of the addition of these residual vitreous, there is an epiretinal membrane which contracts, causing a pucker and symptoms due to the pucker. Asymptomatic ERMs can be washed, but an ERM of this magnitude has to be dense ERM with focal attachment. This is just an example of how it appears and how it needs surgery and how the results can be verified. Macular pseudohole is another condition among the interface of abnormalities. It usually is asymptomatic and found on routine examination. It is an asymptomatic ERM in a 60-year-old lady with 6'9" vision. It appears as a discrete red, orange, or oval lesion. Similar to a small or medium FTMH measuring about 200 to 300 microns in diameter. And what actually happens in pseudohole is that there is a concomitant ERM with a central opening, which, because of its centripetal contraction, causes an invagination of the edges, deepens the foveal pit, and causes a hole-like appearance. There is no loss of retinal tissue. So this is an example of a macular pseudohole in our department. 55-year-old, 6'12", night vision with metamorphosis operated, and 1 week later. But the time taken for restoration is little longer in pseudoholes because the chronicity of the ERM and the improvement in symptoms also takes little longer. Lamellar hole is something which is a partial thickness foveal defect that typically appears on retinal biomicroscopy as a round or oval lesion. It has an irregular contour, a defect in the inner fovea only, and the height of the retina may not be affected. There's always an outer retinal layer intact, and intraretinal splitting can sometimes occur, and this is actually divided into two distinct types by this study, where they found that there was a tractional type and a degenerative type, and we should use examples. So this is the tractional type, and this is the degenerative type. So there is this mustache appearance and the top hat appearance. I'm not going to details. And what I want to say is that this is the first type is operable. The second type does not respond very well to surgery. Apparatal proliferation, lamellar hole associated apparatal proliferation is something that in mind and can be operated in certain cases. One example of an LHEP in association with an LAMA was operated and had closure but not translated. Coming to the last category, this is a high myope. As you can see, the temple crescent and the tessellation. Very difficult to diagnose. Detachment trained only can be. This is due to anteroposterior traction. EMT, ERM can be present. Residual vitreous cortex is what can cause the traction. Intrinsic rigidity of the ILM is, and there is a progression staphylococcus which leads to myopia. This is our own example of myopia is progressing to and results with surgery. This was actually a toxoplasmosis patient who had scars here and there and came back after an attack of COVID with this. And on the OCT, we found that had this little hemorrhage here, prenatal hemorrhage, probably related to COVID. In summary, I must say that we should be aware of the VIP or the vitreomacular interface problems or systems. Should be familiar with the clinical appearance, and of course, many are similar appearing and need OCT to differentiate. Each one has its typical OCT appearance. Familiar with the anterior course as well and treat whenever necessary. Thank you very much, Dr. Murli, for this opportunity, and also the AOS for